The Russian-Ukrainian war began 8 years before the full-scale invasion, but the facts of Russian aggression against Ukraine and other independent states have been accumulating for centuries. The information war also began much earlier, and this year, Russian propaganda was at its prosperity and decline. Overall year propaganda review next in Spotlight Ukraine.
After February the 24th, clarifying the tasks and goals of the special military operation, as the war in Ukraine is called in Russia, became the main task of the Kremlin propaganda. Moscow did not expect tough resistance from Kiev, so it began to produce massive disinformation. So-called denazification and demilitarization of Ukraine were the central theme of Russia's lies and still are.
Banderovцы and neo-Nazis deploy heavy weapons, including multiple launch rocket systems, right in the central areas of large cities, including Kyiv and Kharkiv. They plan to call back fire from Russian strike systems on residential areas. In fact, they act in the same way as terrorists around the world.
The fight against imaginary Ukrainian neo-Nazis became part of the unproven but officially established rhetoric of the Russian highest officials. However, Nazism was transformed along with another narrative, the functioning of biolaboratories, combat geese and mosquitoes in Ukraine.
Those laboratories are have been created by the United States all over the world, more than 300 laboratories in various countries, many of them on the perimeter of the Russian Federation and the former Soviet republics, including Ukraine.
After withdrawal from Kiev, Chernihiv and Sumy oblasts and losses, the Russian leadership introduced the idea of protecting the people of Donbass and the Russian-speaking population. However, the so-called liberation of the eastern regions is delayed, so Russian propaganda began to use the narratives of opposition to the West and NATO expansion to the east. Vasily Nebenzia, the permanent representative of Russia to the UN.
Russophobia became Ukraine's main national product and export commodity. It is not a war in Ukraine as you call it. It is a proxy war of collective West with Russia.
After unsuccessful attempts to intimidate the West, the reflections of the Russian side on the militarization of Ukraine occupied a lot of space in the propaganda of the aggressor. They immediately declared that convoys with foreign weapons for Ukraine would become legitimate targets for the armed forces of the Russian Federation. However, it was not successful, and the Russian side began to say that the West is prolonging the conflict by supplying weapons. To achieve concessions in the war, the Russian side focused on the policy of terror and blackmail. Russia deliberately committed several crimes blaming Ukraine and its Western partners for all the problems.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Latest news, trends, and analytics on all about Ukraine. Like, share, and subscribe. Any questions, proposals, and comments, contact us via email.